Now we are at the general adopters curve, and that is at the point where everybody is wondering, how do I implement this today? How do I start using it today? And the reception is much, much better. Especially in very key and sensitive practice areas like law, I really and truly believe there always has to be a human in the loop. If it's intake, for instance, how do I go about leveraging both, automation tools and AI to handle intake? How do I train AI to do engagement letters? How do I train AI to raise fee notes according to the advocate's remuneration order?
Thank you everyone for joining us once again. Welcome to Perfect Practice, or rather My Perfect Practice by Wansom AI. Today we are joined by a friend of Wansom. His name is Muthomi. He's going to take us through his journey in law very briefly, and then we're going to talk about what brought us here, which is basically AI, building AI, and legal technology in Kenya, and how can lawyers and law firms in Kenya embrace AI, and why it is important for them to embrace AI, and why AI is very good for us, and it is not here to replace us. So thank you, Robin, for joining us.
Thank you.
Maybe just briefly, you can tell us about your journey in law and how you came to become a legal technologist, as you say.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ruth. As she said, my name is Muthomi Mutiga. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I am also a legal technologist. Mm-hmm. That's a relatively new term and job description, if at all. Mm-hmm. But it's something that describes what I do. And what I do basically is I help practitioners, that is lawyers, law students, the judiciary, on how to think about AI, mm-hmm. how to implement it safely, and how to ensure that the professional obligations that we hold as professionals is upheld. Mm-hmm. So that's very, very key. And among the things I do is education, mm-hmm. because I believe the biggest gap we have with AI and technology as a whole right now is the gap between knowing and not knowing. Mm-hmm. Knowing how AI works, knowing how it doesn't work, mm-hmm. knowing the shortcomings. So I've built a community of legal professionals all over Africa. I think probably one of the biggest. It's called Lawyers on the Cutting Edge. That's where we discuss how technology is impacting our practice and how we can safely navigate this new terrain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Very, very good introduction.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just let us know how your day-to-day work looks like.
So I work in a very niche area of, I don't even know if it's an ongoing practice area or, we are chartering new territory in terms of practice. I mostly work with firms with, heavy workloads. They're handling multiple litigation matters, handling multiple conveyancing matters, have no clue how much they have built and not built this month, how much has been sent out, how much has not been sent out. And we basically use artificial intelligence to, train it and customize it within the workflows of the firm. So to say that is to mean we would teach it how the firm works. Okay. If it's to draft correspondence, if it is to follow up on matters and follow up on bills, to raise fee notes, and then we build custom workflows that work within the firm. So I work very closely with firms that are mid-sized and they're trying to think about how do they start leveraging technology, how do they start leveraging AI. So typically in the morning you'd find myself maybe doing consultation, understanding what specific firms are doing. Then implementation is also part of it, walking into the firms, understanding the systems, understanding how the team works. That's very, very key. Yes. And then building things that, work with them, that do not replace how they work, but rather augment and help them work better. So, and on top of that is now training. I run monthly webinars on the Lawyers on the Cutting Edge, and we do a lot of empowerment on for advocates, for legal researchers, for judicial officers. So on a day-to-day, you'll find me, talking about AI the whole day as I'm here today, and actually helping legal professionals understand that this is a technology that is here to help us and help, the practice of law, improve it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So building up on that, when you are approaching these law firms, first of all, who approaches who? That's my question. And have you noticed whether they are more receptive or they are a bit rigid initially before they accept or they welcome this AI benefits? And also, when you're installing or when you're customizing it for them, what are some of the challenges that you have encountered in these different law firms? Yes.
Brilliant question. Thank you so much, Ruth. At the beginning, because I've been in the AI field for maybe 2-3 years now, since I was back in campus, 2, 3, 4 years, and at the beginning there was very little interest in terms of, can this be useful, in terms of, do we even need it, in terms of, can this even help in practice? And that is also owed to this, kind of pace that the technology has, gone through. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it could barely, do so much. When it came out, it could just write, poems and very simple, paragraphs. But now, as the technology has grown, so has the interest in the legal profession, in the legal community. When I started, there were literally no, forums or webinars where you actually go and hear legal professionals talking about AI.
Yeah. Sure.
And that was a big challenge at the time.
Sure.
But immediately I started, creating the community around this topic, educating people about how this technology works. I have seen the reception go higher and higher. And I would say we are at an inflection point at this point in terms of adoption. There is the graph that says, there is the early adopters, there is the late adopters. Now we are at the general adopters curve. And that is at the point where everybody is wondering, how do I implement this today? How do I start using it today? And the reception is much, much better. So in terms of who approaches who, then that comes to, how, I give out my content. I'm very active on LinkedIn, I'm very active on TikTok, I'm very active on WhatsApp, and I do monthly webinars. So it comes to a point when I do a webinar, for instance, I think April 7th, I did a webinar on the AI blueprint. And I was talking about various workflows that you can just hand out and forget AI does. For instance, a very key one is billing. You could have an AI agent understand that these are the fee notes that you have sent out. It understands this fee note is 30 days old, is 60 days old, and it can follow up depending on the age of the fee note.
Sure.
And that immediately people are asking for consultations. So because I think the biggest issue right now is to builders like us at Wansom and I at Robin Advisory Group is demonstrating how this technology impacts the bottom line for law firms.
Okay.
Because that is where now it's no longer a matter of if, but how do we do it now?
Okay.
It becomes urgency because now if you can actually show practitioners how quickly or how, not quickly, but how they can, leave some workflows that are very important, administrative and repeatable, but you can leave them up through workflows and they can be working when you're not even, thinking about them. So that's very, very key. And I think in the coming days, of course, the adoption will be better. I believe the conversation is everywhere. Everyone is talking about AI, be the courts, be the judiciary itself as an institution. The bar itself is talking about AI and how we can start thinking about this technology. So it's just a matter of time. So the biggest hurdle I've seen is in firms that have maybe partnerships and where decisions are, rooted on multiple people. It becomes very difficult to, they understand that the solution works.
Okay.
But now the time between, implementation, agreeing that we need this solution to actually implementing it, it becomes a challenge. And this is where I'm seeing small firms getting an advantage because they have, fewer channels to make decisions. They are easier to, if I'm a solo practitioner and I have 3 advocates, I'm the one who's making all the decisions at the end of the day. And if we see this is impacting my bottom line, then it becomes easier to just, say yes. And this is the advantage that, small firms I'm seeing will have over, bigger farms in the coming days, because they have the agility, they have, the unison or the unity of mind to actually go ahead and implement this technology. So that's something I'm watching out, and big farms should be very careful about as well. Yes.
Okay. But then there are rooms that AI, like AI is already in those kind of rooms, like we can say research. AI is already doing research, AI is already doing the drafting, and you have talked about the billing as well. So what are that particular rooms where AI should never enter when it comes to the legal sector?
Very, very nice question, Daniel. I think that goes to AI governance in law firms, in legal institutions, in the judiciary, and even in government as a whole, because this, unlike any other technology, is going to go through the entire economy.
Yes.
And especially in very key and sensitive practice areas like law, I really and truly believe there always has to be a human in the loop.
Sure.
Even as we build these technologies, as builders of this technology and implementers of this technology, I think within that workflow where AI is being utilized, there needs to be judgment.
Okay.
There needs to be a point where the human makes a judgment. For instance, as I was building these custom tools, I was able to build, a tool, a very safe tool that could be able to, log into my e-filing portal, see what is in my calendar, and carry out other actions. And one of my, good friends who are co-creating this tool with wanted the tool to be able to file for them. And I was a bit hesitant on that point, because the actual act of filing is the professional, it carries its weight. So I believe as we build these solutions, also us as builders and also users of this technology as professionals, we need to give that safeguard, because we can't, release all, give it all the ability to do everything. Well, AI does a lot in my practice. It does. I mean, it knows everything about what I'm doing, but there are limits to what I allow it to do. And that should always be the case. Because at the end of the day, a profession like ours, human judgment, human input and insight is central to the work product. So AI can only augment, assist, or help automate a very specific part.
Okay.
Then the rest now needs to be on the judgment of the advocate and the judgment of the judge. Even if it's, passing the judgment or giving a ruling, there needs to be a human in the loop at all instances.
So based on that, we can say that AI is not built for like solo users, like just someone who didn't go to the law school and then trying just to use AI to draft their pleadings and whatever. So AI is built for lawyers. Like in the legal sector, AI should be built for lawyers.
Absolutely. And that's where tools like Wansom come in. Like in a team like yours, you have programmers like yourself. You have advocates of the High Court.
Sure.
That co-creation carries a big role in bringing out an end product that, advocates and practitioners can actually trust and rely upon. And that's why we are having so many issues with, hallucinations, that we are having so many issues with even courts themselves citing non-existent statutes. It's happened. And actually, I think there's a researcher who's he's tracking how many times that AI has been found, hallucinating courts. I think it's 1,000+ times in the entirety of the jurisdiction. And I think in Kenya, he only found 2, and I'm sure there are more than 20, even the ones I know.
Okay.
So there is that gap in knowledge. There is that gap in knowledge, and that's why when you have a certified tool that is built by co-creators who understand the both worlds, the AI world, the practice world, then that is where you can get reliable tools. On top of that, I understand there are lawyers who also want to be builders, especially young practitioners who are in law school, because I get so many messages on my TikTok, by the way, people who want to join Legal Technology. My encouragement to them is to be, think outside the box, because at the end of the day, you're going to be remembered by the systems that you build in this day and age. The systems that you build and how replicatable they can be and how you can leverage them to practice, at a higher level. That is what is going to be important in the coming days. And then the final point when it comes to, these tools, competence, verification, we can't say that enough. I mean, every time I'm speaking about artificial intelligence in a group of, professionals, whether they are doctors, lawyers, accountants, doesn't matter. There needs to be competence. And that's why we do even our webinars for free. We don't charge webinars. And I've seen Wansom do the same. They don't charge for your webinars because it's important that we give this information out there. There's a gap between the knowledge of how these tools work and, how people are using it. And that's why we are seeing ourselves in, wrong case laws, misquoted case laws, judgments that quote statutes that don't exist. And the biggest problem is now comes to competence. Let's just dedicate a bit of time with AI and it can do wonders in how we practice.
Yes, that's why the training you've said you do is very important. And also training on how to test for hallucination, right? Yes. So how do you test for hallucinations?
Now, I have a very, very, very strict regime when it comes to research and AI. Because as good as these tools are, I'll be honest, and I use them, I stress test them as much as I can, they are lazy. So, it will find you a judgment that doesn't even tell you what it tells you, but it's very confident that this is a judgment. And this is a problem you'll find mostly if you're using the plain ChatGPT to just do your research or the plain Gemini. There are ways around that. This is my workflow for research, and this is maybe not part of what Wansom does, but it's something I did when I was in the Kenya School of Law, and it helped me immensely. I use AI to retrieve, not to remember. When you go to the chat, Gemini, Cloud, whatever it is, and you search there, it will try to remember from its training data, which it doesn't have a good data set on Kenyan law or African law for that matter. It will hallucinate. That's where the hallucination will come from. So in reverse, what I do is I rely on tools that do retrieval, either through my own custom agents that I built using Cloud Code. We find one agent that finds the statute. If I'm looking for a legal query, a specific agent finds the statute. Another one verifies that this statute is, relevant to the facts I've asked. I have another agent that finds the exact citation. I have another agent that reads the entire case law, summarizes it, and stores it. So I have multiple agents that are doing specific tasks within the retrieval of this information. And then at the end, I have a report. From that report is what I read and analyze. I'm like, this case law, I click through, I find I can go to Kenya law, summarize that page, or I can have the summary that is already done, and then I can verify the outputs from there. Because even when I talk to TikTok, I get so many comments that, I have to actually manually go through this, and verify. So I find I just do it the normal way instead of just using AI, because they have to, go and verify again. But that's part of legal work. Even if you are a senior associate, you have to verify your junior's work. So you have to go through, understand that what they're giving you is actually accurate, actually, close to what you need or very relevant to what you need, and then you can utilize it. But if you just want, one click and you get your answer, then you'll definitely find that you're falling into the pitfalls. And there are other technologies, of course, that help, AI reduce hallucinations. And I saw somewhere on Twitter somebody say that, people who are building technology on AI don't talk about hallucinations. But there's a very good reason, because we don't talk about hallucinations because there are other methods of, using AI for research. For instance, retrieval augmented generation, where the issue now becomes how close can it find the case law. It's not, hallucinating case laws. And there are methods and guardrails that you can place around that to ensure that it doesn't actually come out with a case law that, doesn't exist. You can use a free tool like Notebook LM, input your sources, And once you ask a question, you always get a verified answer from the sources that you've inputted. So
Wonderful.
something very key to think about as we're using these tools. Again, competency.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Never replace your human judgment.
Yes. Actually, you have. I can say you have given a summary of Wansom AI.
A very quick one.
Yes, you have given a summary of Wansom AI. We do that actually. I liked the fact that you stated we don't do directly, like it just doesn't take data from the training data. Like you don't train and then you just take from that trained data. You are doing retrieval, like you have your source of law. Like in Kenya, you have Kenyan law. So you retrieve information from Kenyan law. That's a source of knowledge. And then you then have that summary that can be directly done from, when you have a very good source, the summary also is better. Yes, it's very interesting. But when you have even a very bad source, maybe if you try to rely on the chained data from US and UK, ChatGPT and even cloud, you will have even a summary which will go in the wrong way, because we always say if it is something that is trash in the input, it will be trash in the output as well. So we have to make sure we do that retrieval, we analyze, we summarize, and then we have everything ready for us.
Yeah, true.
So that's it actually.
Yeah, retrieval over generation. I think she was talking about the webinar we did this month actually, on the 15th. And that was a key frame. When you're using AI for legal research, as opposed to other tasks, focus on retrieval as opposed to generation. So if you go to the basic chatbot, you're just generating, and that's where hallucinations will come from. But if you're retrieving using a tool that actually retrieves, like Perplexity, like Notebook LM, like Wansom AI, those tools now can actually help you reduce now the risk of professional.
And yet those tools as well, don't have a very good grounding when it comes to Kenyan law.
Yes.
No.
So that means, that's where then we find Wansom AI very important in in the legal sector, because the retrieval, when you retrieve from Kenyan law, and you can have that link of yours to guide you to that case or that guide you to that statute, you are sure that this statute comes from Kenyan law.
Absolutely.
And yes, actually, I like the fact that you are building in that sector, because
yes.
And you have also a law firm.
Yes.
So how does those two things come together?
Okay. Very interesting story. Maybe before I was admitted to the bar,
yes,
I worked with a very close mentor, lecturer. I worked in her firm for my entire pupillage period.
Yes.
And I was able to, help her build a few tools within her practice, automation tools, legal practice management tools. And as I was heading to, a month to my admission, which was last year in November, I started thinking critically about how do I demonstrate, because I understand that this technology, very fast, this technology is going to impact how the entirety of society is, let alone legal practice. So for the naysayers about, AI, it's going to cut across, let alone our profession. So that is one thing I understood. The second thing I understood is advocates, lawyers, legal professionals understand very crucially that this is something they need to implement. But there is not a clear vision on how it works within their firms. So I took it upon myself as a challenge. Let me actually build these tools for my own practice. If it's intake, for instance, how do I go about leveraging both, automation tools and AI to handle intake? How do I train AI to do engagement letters? How do I train AI to raise fee notes according to the advocate's remuneration order? If it's litigation, as we were talking about earlier, how do I train AI? Immediately I leave a hearing which was online, it can just take my transcript, it can go draft a client email, it can add the matters on my diary and on my calendar and actually store how can I train it to do that? How can I train it to, track my 90-day completion for conveyancing? How can I train it to draft LRA forms? How can I train it to draft notice of motions? And that was a challenge for me. Because initially I felt that this is how people would want, or practitioners, because having worked within them, I understood they want to see how this tool can, remove the drudgery of legal work.
Sure.
And when I say drudgery, I mean it in the best terms possible, because I understand there are very key tasks that are very crucial in practice. Administrative, repetitive, they do not take a lot of mind or brain, but if you miss them, your practice is completely gone wrong. So small things like drafting affidavits of service, being compliant with court orders. How do I use AI and automation within my firm to actually, demonstrate how AI can come in? And so for me, the idea was build a demo law firm that runs that's tech native from day one, that is AI native and AI enabled. And how do I demonstrate this to my peers as a firm that they can look up to? And then from there, I've tested these tools within my practice. I've tested them through my workflows. I've tested them through as I'm handling client intake, as I'm doing my drafting for constitutional petitions. I am training it, and then I am improving its capabilities. And then from there now, I'm able to replicate what I've done for my firm to other practitioners. And that has been the goal for me. So I find there has been a lot of interest around there, especially for custom tools, and that's where I've been majoring on. So we work with you. You're a tax practitioner. You're, you're a company secretary. You do governance work. You're, the law is very broad in terms of practice, and it's so holistic. It's only in law that you'll find a practitioner in a hospital, in an airport, unlike all other professions. So how does AI impact your practice within your niche, within your general practice? And that is the challenge I took it upon myself to
Actually, I would like just for you, if you can explain a little bit one practice area and the process on how that in that practice area a lawyer can use AI to do the job.
Okay. I do so many consultations, and after a while, the stories have started to blend in, and I can see very clearly. For instance, litigation practitioners have the issue of, and it's the biggest anxiety part of their practice. It's Monday morning. They have 10 matters today. Maybe they were not in Friday, they were not there when maybe one of the matters is being heard. So they are trying very quickly before the court starts to understand, every matter, what is it coming up for, what compliance items did court give us. And it's so unfortunate that you find so many advocates the morning of filing hearing notices, filing, affidavits of service, doing compliance things that more often than not you'll find they had asked for 14 days again to do the same thing, and they still haven't done it. And it's not laziness. That is the first thing. It's not laziness. The issue is this gentleman who's written the book Getting Things Done. He's called David Allen.
Oh, yes.
He says the brain is for coming up ideas and not for storing it. So you might have it at the back of your head and that you need to comply, but you only remember the morning of. And it's so unfortunate. So how I've been able to bring AI into this specific problem area is, most court in Kenya is done online. So I trained cloud co-work with things called skills, where it understands my workflows and what I do. So what happens in typical litigation morning?
Yes.
For me, I'll wake up, open my cloud co-work, I have an artifact. One pager. That pager already shows me all the matters that are coming today, what happened last time, which court, where is the link. It can show me the tasks that I have, whether they are done, whether they are overdue.
Sure.
It can show me correspondence on my Gmail. Just one page. I look at it, I see everything. I have everything that is going on my plate. Second thing, I now attend court. I attend court. Maybe I have 5 matters. One is in Ruiru, one is in Thika, one is in Milimani. So I have another tool called Tactic.io. Tactic is a transcription tool, works on Gmail, Microsoft Word, Teams, also Microsoft Teams, Zoom, whatever. So it joins court with me. Immediately my matter is called, I turn it on. It transcribes the entire hearing. So at the end of the hearing, I have a transcript of what the court said, what I said, what the opposing counsel said, whatever which witness said, I have all that already in my transcription tool. I take that transcription and go and paste it on Cloud now. Cloud have trained it on my skills, on my workflows, with a simple command. It's usually process hearing, and then I paste the transcript there. Immediately from there, it will retrieve the key information. Who was the judge? Who was the opposing party? Who is my client? What is the matter? It has a record already on my database, Airtable, which I use, or a custom legal practice management software, so it understands the context of this matter because I've attended before. It takes that data, updates my database. Now, that would be the court docket. It will update with, this was the time, it took this 15 minutes in court, this is what the judge said, these are the deadlines that the judge gave, and this is the compliance date. It adds that to my database. It goes and proceeds to go to my Google Calendar and add all those deadlines. And gives me reminders for 2 days, for 1 week. So if there is a compliance, maybe a replying affidavit that was supposed to be served in 14 days, then on the 12th day, I'll get a notification you have not filed. It's just like a BU. And then from there now, it goes and drafts a client email and tells the client what happened in court. And of course, very quickly, I'll have it on my Google Drafts. Again, it doesn't send, just has it on my drafts. I read it, I ensure that it's accurate, I verify everything, and then I hit send. After that, the court maybe has said to serve a hearing notice. It understands how I draft hearing notices. It understands the structure of the caption, the structure of everything. It will draft that, and it will have it on my Word. So a process that would take typically 1 hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours a day for a single hearing, it takes me 5 to 7 minutes. And because AI understands the entire workflow. So now this will solve the issue of the compliance. I'm not waking up the morning of realizing that there's an affidavit of service that wasn't sent because I sent it that day. It was drafted in 2 minutes. Why would I not have sent it? So I would never have that issue. If it's, not being aware that this compliance is coming up, I have 2 days reminder. So I don't need to keep reminding myself, I need to serve a replying affidavit. I need to serve, this by this day. Wonderful. It will just come up and I know. Time is running out. I need to do this and this. So that's just one of the workflows, and that goes a long, long way because the biggest part of litigation is not attending court, it's actually doing the post work. The post work. Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. So let me just still continue on that. Actually, those are the plugins that we are putting in Wansom AI, because in Wansom AI, you have tested it. It is called like the workflows. The workflows. You have since actually you have just described the workflow. So we have to make sure like the workflows are very well in that particular, like you can be able to track everything that you do. And to make sure maybe when you are attending a hearing, you get everything that was said there, everything that you said, so that you can have the context. Actually, I liked the fact that you said the brain is there to not to store knowledge, but just to give idea. So that is the purpose of just the workflow. It stores the knowledge that you need it to store, and then it helps you in all your research, all your drafting, and even reminders, the way you have said. So,
and on top of that, actually, also something very key and most firms don't realize is the value of knowledge within the confines of a firm. And the value of preserving that knowledge beyond, the practitioners there, because as the firm grows, succession comes in, people move in, people go out. But how do you ensure that the knowledge that one practitioner utilizes in drafting, affidavits, in drafting sale agreements, in drafting PRAs, whatever you have, how do you ensure that knowledge is carried along? How do you ensure that
Yes,
it doesn't disappear? So using tools now like Wansom and now my own custom tool, every time I tell it, next time improve this. It continues growing and improving over time. And when one leaves, they don't have to start looking for templates.
You just change the rules and then it adapts.
It adapts, exactly.
Yes. So moving away from law firms, we've talked extensively about how you're building for law firms. You've also said that you build and you're working with the judiciary. So what are you doing with the judiciary and why?
Very key. So last year, I got the privilege I was invited to speak at the Judges Colloquium in Mombasa. It was a very career-defining moment for me because at the time I was not yet admitted to the bar. I was still an advocate trainee and I was called to address the entirety of the judiciary. That's from the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, High Court, and all courts of equal stature. So, and of course this came from, how much information I'm giving out, the webinars, the constant information there. But why I think the judiciary, especially the Kenyan judiciary, should be at the forefront of understanding how this technology works is because of one very important key data that I actually shared with them at the colloquium, which was last year, I think in June, Kenya was ranked to be the highest user of ChatGPT in the world.
Yes.
Imagine.
Above the United States,
You have not
above
built it.
China, above Russia, above everybody.
And you have not even built it.
And we're not even building it. We're using it. Just, we'll get to that also about, renting the AI as opposed to, building it in-house. So for what that means as a number for the judiciary is they will, whether they like it or not, be part in the creation of the modern jurisprudence around artificial intelligence. Because if, the normal day users are using it to do contracts, to, translate language, to do common things of commerce, then it is a matter of time that this technology gets into our courts. And in very many various ways. I remember one of the as I was training them, I gave them a challenge, which was at the time, I would give them an AI-generated image vis-a-vis a real image. And I would ask them to, judge each other, whether they could actually tell from a judge's perspective the difference between AI-generated content and real content, both in videos, both in audio, both in images. And to be honest with you, majority of them failed, if not all of them. And now you can see clearly how, this technology will impact their decision making.
Yes.
Because, this is something actually maybe I haven't had many practitioners talk about, but ChatGPT released a model just the other day, an image model. I think it's called Image 2.
Yes.
And that, that AI tool could, you could take a photo of your text, just your handwritten text, and you could tell it to generate another image saying something completely different, but still using your handwriting. And it can replicate it. And that is very, very scary in terms of, evidence, in terms of, the integrity of the justice system itself. So it's very, very key. So among the things I'm doing with the judiciary is I'm developing a training program for the legal research of the Court of Appeal at the invitation of the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Daniel Musinga. I'm helping them train their researchers and also their judges on how to, first research, drafting, and also how to go about, identifying AI-generated content, which, believe it or not, is already in our courts today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, actually. And then because there is a big problem when it comes to the usage of AI, I would like just to know maybe how then you face that problem. So we have judges, seniors, who have not used AI while like in their entire career. But we have as well those junior who have they have started the law school in 2021 when ChatGPT was being released. So they have known they have been just using ChatGPT for almost everything, research, drafting, and even many other things. So how do the two generations can work together? Are we supposed to train the seniors, or are we supposed to tell to the juniors, don't use this tool so much?
That's a very, very, very good question. I think I've encountered this very plainly. Also last year, I also had the privilege to do a training on people masters in the age of AI, pupillage in the age of AI. And it was a key question because we have, very experienced practitioners who have been practicing for 10, 15 years. They have experience, broad and deep experience in their specific niches and practice areas. And now there's this new technology that is coming to probably disrupt, and completely overhaul how we think about practice as a whole. And it becomes a challenge. And as you've placed it, it's a generational divide. And even as I explained, me going to teach judges, you can clearly tell there is going to have to be a point where it's going to have to be collaborative, as you put it. And that is the only way, because there is the issue of technology and young people being very, very, easily adaptable to technology, easy to understand. The user interface is already built for them. They understand, even how to download apps. And this is true. There are practitioners here in Kenya, very good practitioners, who don't know how to use Word. They have somebody type it out for them. And it's not a bad thing. It's how they practice, and it's what makes them unique. But now there needs to be a sort of intergeneration collaboration between the sharing of the experience and expertise of the seniors, which is very, very crucial and which you can't, ignore. Experience is everything. But also for them to, seed a bit of ground for the juniors and actually try to understand how this new way can, improve their experience, how they can leverage
the practice.
Yes. All that knowledge, how do they leverage it using an AI tool? And I believe the people who will get the most impactful help from AI is actually the seniors, because they already know the how to give instructions. That's the first thing. It's prompting. When you're telling somebody to actually conduct, draft pleading or draft submissions, you're actually just prompting them and telling them, do this, then do this. I want you to touch on this point and this point. So, there will always be people who will be averse to this technology. There's always going to be the late adopters. But truly, the older generation who adapts it sooner will get the best impact from it. So it kind of needs to be give and take. The experience of the seniors as well as the tech savviness of the juniors.
Yes.
Okay.
So we consume a lot of international legal tech news. We like to know how the international market is doing legal-wise, how other legal tech companies are doing. And something that has been interesting for me is looking at the AI native law firms, the law firms that are specifically built to be run by AI. Yeah, and so that brings me to the law firms of the future. Do you think, Kenya, we can have law firms of the future being AI native?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if not here, where else? Here we do not have the what I like to call the regulatory sclerosis of, the more advanced jurisdictions which have, years and years of, history and practice directions and all that. Our laws are more flexible in terms of, human rights, data privacy. They're more modern in terms of, modern issues. This is the hub, and especially here in Nairobi, Kenya, this is the Silicon Savannah. This is where Kenya will actually lead how AI will be implemented. And I think I've identified 3 ways firms can go through actually having an native AI run firm. The first one is open source. Open source. Open source is going to be, because the biggest issue we have as practitioners and even users of these tools in Africa here is we are renting them out. We are renting out the cloud from, Anthropic in the US. We are renting out ChatGPT. We are renting out, the Kimis from the Chinese.
Yes.
We do not actually have
DeepSeek.
custom tools that work from here. So this is what I believe will be the true differentiator. There's no law firm that is going to be investing $1 trillion on building a data center or train their AI. First of all, it's too expensive. It doesn't make any cost sense. So I think the best solution will be open source first. Open source in terms of software. For instance, one tool I realized recently called Cicero Law, which is amazing. It's basically an open source of the big tools you hear there from the US. I won't mention them. But you could just take that as a starting point and build upon it. The second thing is open source in terms of AI. Having locally running models that not, seep out data to, other nations. If you could have your OLAMA running on your computer, if you could have your OpenClaw running on your computer, if you could have your, what are they called? All these LM Studio, all these open source AI tools, and you can have them running on your tool.
On your computer.
That will be very key, especially for law firms that have, very sensitive practice areas. That is the first thing. I think open source will help us build native firms. The second thing is building on top of what they have already been built and then localizing it. For instance, Cloud released, I think, hundreds of plugins that are legal plugins, but they are not jurisdiction aware. They are not.
They don't know.
They
about
don't understand Kenya. They don't understand
data.
practice.
Yeah.
So that now is key, and that is what Wansom is doing. Using now understanding and localizing this technology for our practice here. And that is where you utilize tools like Wansom to actually, leverage their capabilities in research, in drafting, in contract analysis to actually improve your firm. The third, and this is going to be very key, and this is for the young advocates, the young advocate trainees and the law students. There is going to be very soon, and this is a prediction I'm making here at Wansom, there's going to be very soon an internal AI specialist who is going to be guiding the vision and the direction of firms, so that, especially for established firms, because they do not want, to destroy their overhead as they are trying to, move to this new age, they're going to need people who understand this technology, people who understand both the technical and the practical part of practice, and they can actually, customize their practice areas, their existing workflows into custom AI workflows and custom AI tools. So with those three combined, maybe, we will start seeing emergence of AI native law firms, AI fast law firms, and this is already happening. That's what I'm doing at Muthomi Mutiga and Company Advocates. We are building this from scratch. So we have tools that do the workflows for research, for intake, all that, and at the end of the day, that is where we start, developing the law firm and the future of practice.
Wonderful. So you see, you think that tech law is just simple things.
No, it's not.
Until you listen to
you listen to someone in practice.
Yes. When you listen like to how you have actually explained everything, you hear that tech law is not just putting AI into the practice, but building the whole framework around it.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. So maybe as we are finishing up this podcast, I would like just to know, what do you want? Like, what if you imagine a future to be implemented at Wansom on Wansom AI? What do you think that future can be?
What I would encourage both the Wansom team and the users of our technology is go local.
Okay.
Local tools that have been built by people who understand your practice, that have been developed by people who understand the risk that comes with AI, and also builders of AI. So it's a combination of, intelligence in the legal industry and also intelligence in the use of AI.
Wonderful.
So tools like Wansom will actually, bridge that gap of competence, because they have competent team members behind the tool that are actually thinking about your use, your experience. So Wansom would be a key tool where you would I'd recommend practitioners within both Kenya, East Africa, start thinking about how they can start implementing this technology.
Yes.
And Wansom will guide them, handhold, and ensure that the tools that you have are standard and up to
We
par.
also customize.
Very key.
Wonderful,
very key.
wonderful.
Yes.
Wow. And maybe can you tell us a little bit about as well your the tools you have told us a little bit about your tools in litigation, but the other tools that you have built.
Okay, yeah.
Because
that's very key
besides
also.
being a lawyer, you are also a builder. So you are building together.
Yes. So I am a builder, very actively building. As I've said, I'm building for Muthomi Mutiga and Company Advocates. That is, I am building it to be a tech-native firm, the law firm of the future. And the idea here is to translate the actual workflows into systems that can be repeatable, that can be replicable, and that can be reused by any firm. So the idea is not to replace human judgment. The idea is not to replace the competency and the professional obligations of the advocate, but augment and improve how they practice. So I always talk about leverage, because at the end of the day, AI is leverage. And if you're not using leverage, then you're not helping yourself. So the idea is, how can this leverage my capabilities as a firm? How does this improve the output of my practitioners, of my associates, of my colleagues, of my team members? So among the other things I do, of course, there is the litigation plugin that I talked about that does the litigation work. There's one that does intake, it does conflict checks. We have the one that does conveyancing and the entire conveyancing process by tracking it, but ensuring that at its point, the client is updated, any document that needs to be drafted is drafted, and that ensures that they are well aligned within the entirety of the practice. So let me close by saying this. And I try to encourage a lot young practitioners, start experimenting, start using Wansom, understand how Wansom works, start using ChatGPT, start using cloud, understand how they work, because you will give the vision of how these tools will shape this industry. You are the architects of this practice area. I mean, it's been centuries where we have been practicing the law the same, but this is the moment. The moment is right for a rethink, a reorganization of how our practice is. And with that, thank you so much, Wansom, for inviting me.
So maybe how can people find you?
Of course, you can find me on TikTok at Robin Muthomi Mutiga, or the Legal Technologist. You can find me on YouTube as well, Robin Muthomi Mutiga. You can find me on LinkedIn at Robin Muthomi Mutiga, and you can find me as well on X. I'm very active on TikTok, so feel free.
I love your TikTok.
Thank you.
They're very interesting.
So feel free to shoot a message, and we'll collaborate where we can.
When it comes to maybe give a point of view about a case, I like that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for accepting our invite. Yes, thank you for, we've talked. I think we should do this again.
Yes,
sure.
Maybe he'll have built more things, so you come and tell us.
Yes, maybe on Wansom we'll have them as plugins as well.
Yes, so that is all from us. Thank you for joining us for Perfect Practice, brought to you by Wansom AI. Thank you.
Thank you.